We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. Sigmund Freud, she doesn't want peace. She wants tension. Freud saw it long before you did. That beneath every polished smile and gentle embrace lies a hunger not for love, but for conflict, for submission, for psychological gravity. And if you as a man do not understand this, if you still believe that flowers, reassurance, and consistency will secure her loyalty, then you are already lost. Because Freud exposed what most men still deny. Female desire is not drawn to safety. It is drawn to danger that doesn't need her. This is not an insult. This is not bitterness. This is anatomy. It is psychology carved into bone and blood. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, dared to unmask the unconscious mind. He devoted his life to one question: what does a woman want? And after decades of listening to wives, mistresses, daughters, and seductresses, he gave us the most terrifying answer of all. Even she doesn't fully know, but her body knows, her instinct knows. Freud believed that human desire, especially in women, was not rational, not moral, not socially correct. It was primitive, fluid, and dangerously real. He described female sexuality as a dark continent, unexplored, unpredictable, and violently suppressed. Centuries of polite civilization buried it. And in that suppression, Freud discovered something chilling. What women claim to want and what they respond to are often not the same thing. She says she wants a kind man, but texts back the one who disappeared. She says she wants a man who listens, but obsesses over the one who makes her feel invisible. She says she wants stability, but her heart races for the one who lives on the edge of chaos. Why? Because Freud understood that female desire isn't about logic. It's about lack, about chasing what she cannot fully possess. And the man who gives her everything openly, eagerly, emotionally, that man is no longer a mystery. He becomes predictable. He becomes boring. He becomes disposable. Freud called it the repetition compulsion, a psychological phenomenon where we are drawn not to what heals us, but to what reactivates our deepest wounds. Women, shaped by evolutionary pressures to test, select, and survive, are drawn to men who activate emotional conflict, not out of malice, but instinct. In that conflict, when you withhold validation, resist her pull, stay centered in your purpose, she feels the electricity of uncertainty. In that uncertainty, she feels attraction. But no one told you this. You were told to be available, vulnerable, to pour your soul out. You hoped she'd respect your honesty. Yet, you watched her lose interest slowly, cruelly, without explanation. You thought something was wrong with you. But Freud would say, no, something is wrong with what you were taught to believe about women. He wrote that repression is the cornerstone of civilization, especially sexual repression. But repression doesn't erase desire. It distorts it. It drives it underground. In women tied to modesty, family, submission, that distortion created a double life. One conscious, polite, nurturing, and one unconscious, wild, untamed, drawn to what society said she should avoid. This is why the fantasy of the bad boy never dies. He represents something ancient. A man who cannot be tamed. A man who refuses to beg. A man whose soul is not up for sale. You've seen it play out. You gave her everything, and it wasn't enough. You answered her calls, picked her up, posted her, shared your fears. Still, she drifted, cold, bored, unimpressed, because she didn't want your openness. She wanted your center. The part of you untouched by her mood swings, emotional storms. The part unmoved by her silence, that doesn't panic when she pulls away. She wanted your strength, not through protection, but indifference. Freud wrote that anatomy is destiny. He didn't mean biology rules all. He meant deep structures, sexual instincts, reproductive drives shape desire before we think. For women, that desire is not politically correct, not sanitized, not romantic. It is raw. The man who understands this in his posture, presence, silence, becomes unforgettable. You were raised to fear your masculine edge, to soften it in the name of emotional safety. Now you live in confusion, wondering why she leaves, tests you, argues without reason, provokes, pulls away at intimacy's peak. She doesn't crave harmony. She craves your refusal to be broken. Your core, the part that can walk away and not flinch. The moment you bend to her emotional chaos, you become what she resents, a man who can be owned. Freud wasn't trying to destroy love. He was trying to understand it. He believed love is entangled with conflict. Desire cannot exist without tension. This is the tragedy of modern man, wanting to be desirable and obedient, powerful and pleasing, dominant and tamed. But these are opposites. Desire demands imbalance. It thrives on tension. The moment you give her everything, you rob her of the chase. She wants to surrender, but only to a man who cannot be manipulated. She wants to submit, but only to a man whose purpose outranks her emotions. She wants to be claimed, but only by a man who doesn't need her. Freud saw this with brutal clarity. He didn't blame women. He blamed the illusions men were sold. Illusions that keep them weak, lost, heartbroken. You thought showing wounds would make her stay, proving loyalty would unlock devotion. But Freud would say otherwise. What stirs the female unconscious is not vulnerability. It's dominance of the self. Not control over her, but control over your hunger. Your restraint, unshakable frame, sovereign presence triggers her deepest feminine response. Not your feelings, not your pleading. Women do not fall in love with your softness. They fall in love with your containment. The man who has urges and doesn't act on them. The man tempted but doesn't fall. The man capable of love but does not worship it. That man is dangerous in her unconscious mind. Danger, in the Freudian sense, is not violence. It's power without dependency. You were taught to reverse this polarity, to lead with need, wear your heart on your sleeve, call it strength. But it's not strength. It's exposure. When your soul is exposed before tested, you are no longer a man. You are a servant waiting for a queen. She cannot love a servant. She can use one, depend on one, but not desire one. Desire is built on the tension between longing and withholding, a dance between hunger and resistance. This is why women lose interest when they fully have you. Not because they are cruel, but because desire dies in certainty. You may think love is about transparency, giving her every thought, fear, emotional availability. But Freud saw the flaw. The unconscious mind doesn't care about honesty. It responds to archetypes, power dynamics, emotional contrast. She doesn't want to see all of you. She wants what she cannot reach. You, modern man, with therapy and good intentions, have become too reachable, readable, manageable. In doing so, you made yourself emotionally safe and sexually invisible. Safety does not ignite passion. Safety does not spark longing or awaken the instinct to submit. That instinct is ancient, buried in every myth, love story, feminine fantasy. Not a man who obeys, but one who conquers himself. Freud placed importance on the ego, superego, structures of control. A man guided only by impulse, lust, longing is not a man. He is a slave to himself. No woman will respect that. She may toy with him, use him, but not kneel to him. The man she kneels to is the one who stands taller than his own desire. That's the paradox. You don't win her heart by chasing her. You win it by becoming a man who doesn't chase anything except his own destiny. You've been sold a counterfeit map, saying women want emotional availability more than psychological strength, a man who listens more than leads. They say women want equality when they crave polarity. That's why men feel invisible, emasculated, confused, acting in ways that kill attraction, then blaming themselves. Freud would say you are not aligned with your nature, nor is she. She's frustrated, restless. What her nervous system longs for is a man she cannot bend, who lives by a code, not emotion, who speaks in direction, not apologies. When she finds such a man, her body remembers what her mind forgot. This is the man she can trust without controlling. This is the man she can follow without fear, who can handle her without needing her. You don't become this man by watching videos. You become him by rebuilding your soul's architecture. Freud called it sublimation, redirecting primitive impulses into higher pursuits. Your anger becomes ambition. Your lust becomes discipline. Your heartbreak becomes legacy. Through that transmutation, you become a man who creates, not reacts. She wants that creator, not just a man with a job, but one who has tamed his chaos. The more you chase her approval, the more she pulls away, not out of cruelty, but because female desire cannot survive emotional begging. It demands reverence, which flows only to the man who does not kneel. Freud knew this truth would be hated. Women are not attracted to your soul until they respect your spine. Love is not the beginning of male power. It is the byproduct. A woman's admiration is earned through silence, mastery, withholding need. Once you give up your center, you surrender what she was drawn to. You were taught to lead with your heart. But Freud would say, a man must lead with his spine. When you surrender your masculine core for affection, you don't earn love. You earn quiet contempt. She may not say it, may not understand it, but it shows in her eyes, her tone. Her admiration erodes. She doesn't test you because she's cruel. She tests because her unconscious searches for a man who won't flinch, who can say no without anger, walk away without drama, love her without losing himself. Freud called this the reality principle, the ability to delay gratification for long-term power. A man who cannot delay emotional impulses, who reacts to her withholding, cries, or coldness, is not ready for reverence. He is a child looking for a mother in a lover's body. She cannot mother and desire you at once. One kills the other. When she feels like your emotional caretaker, romance dies. You think she left because of what you did. Freud would argue she left because of what you stopped being. A force, unpredictable, anchored in sovereignty, not an accessory. This isn't hopeless. It's liberating. You don't need to become someone else. Just return to what was buried. Your purpose, discipline, silence. The silence that doesn't beg. The purpose that needs no permission. The edge that doesn't apologize. Freud believed the path to self-realization wasn't pleasure, but mastery of yourself. So, stop resenting her games. Stop playing them. Stop chasing approval and build a life that doesn't need it. She's not your prize or purpose. She's the reflection of your internal leadership. If you lead yourself, she will follow. If you orbit her, she will run, not because she's shallow, but because biology doesn't negotiate with fantasy. Freud's haunting truth is that love is not enough without power, emotional power, sexual polarity, psychological strength. That creates desire, builds a bond that doesn't decay. A man who commands respect before seeking love will have both. But the man who seeks love hoping for respect will have neither. So, harden not with hate, but with remembrance. You were not built to be passive. You were not designed to be emotionally devoured for conditional affection. You are not here to beg for loyalty. You are here to forge yourself into something rare, unmoved by rejection, untouched by manipulation, unreachable by anything but your mission. When you become that man, walking with unshakable self-direction, the women who dismissed you look again. The silence that offended them magnetizes them. They sense you no longer need them. Paradoxically, that's when you become desirable. Freud's brutal truth wasn't that women are broken, but that they are tuned to a different frequency, one that rewards sovereignty, not softness, one that longs to surrender to something worthy. Worth is not measured in pleasing, but in how little you flinch. Stop bleeding for validation. Build a life so complete that whether she stays or leaves, your mission continues unshaken. This is the path to peace, not partnership born of fear, but of respect, not love built on need, but on mutual power. If this awakens something, If it reminded you who you were before the world told you to kneel, don't walk away quietly. Like, share, subscribe, and support this movement against mediocrity. Check the link in the description. Your support helps us speak what others dare not. This is not just a video. It's a reminder. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to become.